Belum lagi. Yep. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat sejahtera kepada semua penonton dan pendengar yang budiman. A warm welcome to Hard and Honest Talk series. My name is Abdul Karim Alias, the host and the moderator for the intellectual discourse tonight. For your information, the Hard and Honest Talk series is a public program that focuses on intellectual discourse, intellectual discussion, about current hot topics of public interest, such as education, health, security, economy, and social issues. This program is streamed live on both YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So please share the link with your friends, with your families, with your colleagues, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube. Click the notification bell so that you can get the notification for any new program and new videos. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the title of our discussion tonight is very, very interesting. English language teaching in Malaysia, challenges, opportunities, and reflections. Well, much has been written and discussed about Malaysian students' weak English proficiency. Until recently, teachers are still struggling, still grappling with this old age issue, I would say, and attempt to find the so-called silver bullet to address the issue. So is there such thing as silver bullet to solve our predicament and our issues in language teaching? Let's see our discussion tonight. So I think the government, the ministry over the years has tried, they have introduced a lot of model or efforts to improve English teaching in schools. But somehow we still have, the issues of the English proficiency. I think one of the efforts, for example, the more recent one is the English Language Education Roadmap 2015-2025, which is a reform effort initiated by Ministry of Education in its effort to enhance the English language proficiency level among Malaysian students. But in any education reform effort, teachers would be the most important group. I'm sure you will agree with that, right? So they are the most important group of people that involved on the ground. So regardless of how big or well-funded reform is, regardless how big or well-funded a reform is, it is the teachers who ultimately have to execute the changes in the classroom. Therefore, it is crucial to listen to their thoughts, to their opinion, to their views on the change, and to gain insights from the experience in implementing the change. So, ladies and gentlemen, to discuss this very important topic, very timely topic, I'm joined by three distinguished, experienced English educators, as you can see on the screen, that together, collectively, they have years' wealth of experience in English language teaching. They'll be sharing their perspectives on the concerns, challenges, and opportunities associated with the teaching of English as a second language. And I've told them to be really honest, very truth, straightforward, because this is hard and honest talk, and this is an intellectual discourse. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce. Actually, I would like to ask them, the speakers, to introduce themselves very briefly. Maybe start with Miss Kiru.
Okay,
Silakan.
thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miss Kirubashini Nadrajan. I'm an English language teacher teaching in SK Taman Rasajaya, Seremban. So I have 8 years of experience teaching English, and as well as I'm a master trainer for curriculum induction, CFR, as well as formative assessment. Okay.
Thank you, Miss Kiru. Then maybe next, Dr. Satira, maybe.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Karim. Lama tak bersiaran bersama. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Actually, I have been writing on this issue on FB. Okay, if you do follow me. So I'm Dr. Satira Haji Ahmad. I'm now currently attached to Institut Pendidikan Guru Campus Sultan Abdul Halim Sungai Petani. So I'm a teacher trainer. Have been in this the teaching of English for almost 28 years. Okay, yeah.
Very experienced. Don't play, eh?
Don't play.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Satira. And next, maybe Dr. Abbas.
Okay, Assalamualaikum, Prof. Ms. Kiru, Dr. Satira, and everyone. Okay, thank you very much for this invitation. I think discussions like this should be something that we should keep doing from time to time or frequently. It's a platform for people to share their views, their concerns, and so on. Okay, I'm like Prof. Karim mentioned, I'm Dr. Abbas Muhammad Ayub Khan, but I have been known as Dr. Abbas in USM. In fact, if you tell my full name to anyone in USM, you may not find out who. Maybe the people in USM like, Abbas, who is he? Saya pun tak kenal. If you say Dr. Abbas, oh, Dr. Abbas, saya kenal. Okay, so that's my nickname, and I have been known by that name among many in USM. So I have been with USM since 2008. I started as a teacher at the School of Languages, Literacies and Translation. I taught English courses, and I have been a lecturer in the same school, teaching a degree program, English for Professionals, since 2019. So I consider I'm the most junior among all of us here. Prof. Karim, of course, the leading person, and followed by Dr. Satira, Ms. Kiru, and I'm a junior. Yeah. Okay.
What's your research area, Dr. Abbas? You maybe mention your research area. I think very important for our audience here.
Yeah. This I did my PhD dissertation. It was on language assessment. I focused on test impact. I think those who are familiar with assessment issues, I think you may know test impact. But we also have a specific term which is called washback. Washback, in other words, it's impact. We want to know the impact of a test on teaching and learning. What kind of impact it has, positive or negative. So that's what I looked at the PT3 level, lower secondary level. I looked at the impact of school-based assessment, focusing on English language subject, on the teaching and learning. So I got to know many things through my study about both teacher and student perspectives in relation to the new assessment introduced back then. It is considered not so new. It's already in practice. Yeah.
Since 2018, I believe.
Yes.
So right, I think to the audience, I would like to invite you to post your questions in the chat, and we have the experts on assessment here, so you can direct the questions to Dr. Abbas to all the speakers here, Ms. Kiru, is teaching in school. So on the ground, she should bring the experience, from on the ground, and also involved as a master trainer in CEFR framework. So I think this is a very good combination, and Dr. Satira from IPG will bring the perspective from the IPG side. And I'm just a moderator. Okay, so now, before we start the ball rolling and before I start to ask questions, I would like to play a very short video, I think about less than 20 seconds, to set the scene for our discussion tonight. So let's watch this together and laugh together.
ต่อไป education ครูแต่คำนี้เราเห็นหน้าโรงเรียนทุกวันนะครับครูใหญ่ยังพูดเลย education ดีๆนะครับใช่ครูใหญ่ตอนนี้ก็ลงวิชาเลือกกับครูจะมาเรียนกับครูเลือกครูด้วยเหรอครับอีดูแคทไอออนอีดูแคทไอออนอาจารย์จะไปซาฟารีเหรอครับคืออีดูแคทไอออน
Okay. So I think that's a very good short video. I believe many of you have watched the video. You can watch on the YouTube as well, but on TikTok they have cut into very short segment. So one of my hobbies is to watch those. But okay, now I think let's. By the way, if you look at the poster, we're supposed to have another speaker, Professor Kamarul Kabilan, actually. And she's a strong critic of CFR, but unfortunately, my apologies, he couldn't make it he has some urgent personal thing suddenly. But he said he will try his best to sneak in towards the end. So let's see, yeah. Okay, but with 3 experienced speakers here, I'm sure there's a lot of things we can talk about. So I think to start with, let's look at from the broad picture. Looking at the current state of how English is being taught in school and at the universities level. How is the English language education is currently being taught in school and universities? What is current state? So from there, I think we can continue to look at what are the issues, challenges, and this is where the CFR discussion comes in and so on. So who would like to start first? Maybe Ms. Kiru?
Right, I will take that. Okay, so based on experience teaching in school, English being taught, so in different settings, it's being taught in different ways. So there's no one way of teaching. So it's difficult to actually say, but based on my experience, there are so many different ways to teach. And with the new curriculum being implemented, so many things have changed. And being taught, there's a lot of games, different types of activities are being conducted in class for students to get their interest to learn the language rather than just being textbook based. And with the pandemic going on as well, it's not really easy to teach the language. We have moved into technology based. So I think we could definitely see that, there were so many different things coming up during the pandemic where teachers were trying to teach using different apps to get their attention, to get their interest. And with that, we could see that there was some improvement taking place. So with technology as well, we can see that students are improving in their language through social media as well. So yeah, I see that happening in schools as well. So it's not all about using textbook. Nowadays, you see teachers using so many different ways. Music is incorporated, games, group work is being used with the current curriculum. So you can see a difference actually taking place in the classroom.
All right. I think at the same time, the audience, while you are listening to the speakers, you can share your thought also, whether what's happening on the ground, as Ms. Kiru was saying just now, is also what you are observing in your own classroom as well. So we would love to hear from you as well. So anyone like to add to what Ms. Kiru has said? Dr. Satira or Dr. Abbas, you want to add on?
Okay, all right. Thank you once again, Prof. Karim, Ms. Kiru. Yeah, I agree with what you said, Ms. Kiru, in terms of the diversity in terms of teaching the teaching methods. Yeah. But it's dangerous when I start my sentence with but. Okay, am I too early? I do not know. I may go to gear 5 already. Okay, I am also in charge or I'm involved with PBD, classroom-based assessment. So in fact, I'm the one of the coach for KL and Selangor when I was attached to IPG Bahasa Antarabangsa. Okay, what Miss Kiru, I agree to a certain extent what Miss Kiru said. Yeah, the teaching of English can be in the form of games, in the form of that's what we learn. Unfortunately, this is not really happening in our classroom. Okay, I think perhaps later on you may want to ask me on obstacles or what, then I will elaborate on that. Of course, in various places, various locality, and then with different teachers, ya, guru yang pelbagai, ada yang very passionate about their job, so they have a try and error of everything. In fact, with the pandemic, I can see there are teachers who are eager to learn, the technology. What's the noise, Prof?
I don't know.
From me or from? Okay, so to answer the question, how is English taught in Malaysia? Okay, before we go into detail about the teachers who are the main ingredients of teaching, regardless of whether it's language or other subjects, teachers are the main ingredients. The system in Malaysia is where the teachers have to follow DSKP. Okay, DSKP stands for document standard. Okay, curriculum dan pentadsiran. Okay, so I personally believe that the DSKP is very beautiful. Yeah, it's very beautiful. So with the introduction of classroom-based assessment, for all subjects, teachers have to understand what is mentioned, okay, what is described or prescribed rather in the DSKP. Okay, once you have understood that, then only you can translate it in your pedagogy. All right. The issue now is there are teachers who do not understand. Okay, I may sound harsh, and the reason why they don't understand is one, because of the workload. Yeah, the work. Prof, if I'm going far from your question, you may stop me anytime. Yeah, I mean to start the ball rolling, set the stage, right?
Yeah.
So I myself, when I look at the DSKP, sometimes is quite difficult to understand, and we have to have. I mean, we have to remember that teachers, they are trained to read the DSKP. Now we train students to read the DSKP and then translate it into their teaching. Well, but there are certain phrases in the DSKP, perhaps, which perhaps is not really understood, tidak difahami dan what was the word? Beyond hayati. Yes, hayati. Yeah,
Okay.
It's beyond memahami. Right. So if you are passionate, if the teacher is passionate, fine. Maybe the teacher will take extra mile to understand and then try to translate it in the teaching. But there are teachers who, especially those like me, who have been in the system for many years, and then there are a lot of reforms along the way. So, the terms used by many teachers, lah, apa pula dah, tukar pula, So, kemudian kedahan. Okay, so to a certain extent, some teachers perhaps dah fed up, with the changes, and therefore will take the DSKP for granted. All right. it is beautiful. Yeah, Malaysia is well known for being able to come up with beautiful blueprints, I would say. Okay, I will stop first. Maybe
Okay.
our adik here want to add.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So at this point, we want to look at the English teaching in school or at the university level, a very broad, kind of drone view. What are there any major issues which we can talk about it much later? Whether things are going on, things are being done in the school level as what we wish, um, as what the ministry wants it to be done that way. So these are the things in general. We'll talk about the specific issues later. So maybe Dr. Abbas, you want to add on a little bit more on the broad view of how English is being taught?
Yes, Prof. Okay, thank you, Prof. And I think the Ms. Kiru and Dr. Satira, they have, they shared their views, which I think I agree with most of their views. Actually, what I wanted to say is, when we say English language teaching, let's put it generally, language teaching. It could be Bahasa Melayu, it could be English, or even other languages, for example. And it happens at school level and at university level, right? So the language subjects at school level, I know Prof. Karim doesn't like using too many terminologies. But unfortunately, I have been trying my level best to run away from using terminologies, and I failed. So I will use terminologies, and let me know if you want me to stop it. I'll try to stop it, Prof. But tonight, maybe one last time. At the school level, we have achievement test. The language, or actually any test offered at school level, it's an achievement test because it comes from the teaching aspect, the assessment aspect. They come from the curriculum. So at the university level, mostly we talk about language. Mostly they are proficiency tests or proficiency courses. Okay. So we talk about language. There are three things. One is the curriculum. The second is the teaching and learning, and number three is the assessment component. By right, or ideally, these three things should be in a harmonious relationship.
Correct.
But in reality, though, how harmonious it is, I think Dr. Satira has the answer, and I think she did mention it in her answer just now. Even Ms. Kiru also mentioned it. In reality, the relationship is not very harmonious due to many reasons. Okay, so the three components, it is the basics, I would say, the curriculum at the school level, and even at the university level, we have our document, course information document. We base our teaching and learning and assessment on that, actually. Okay, so in relation to these three things, usually changes happen globally, and they are reported in the research, in the literature, and we get to know, now if we think why we suddenly started doing formative assessment. Before this, it was summative all along. We only focused on the final exam, and suddenly there is a shift. We prioritize. Our government says, okay, it is now time to focus on the formative as a dimension of assessment. We should not focus too much on the final exam or the summative component. It's because we look at others, what the others are doing. And then we see, okay, Sweden has done it, Finland has done it, and they are progressing very well. And I think we should try it too. So that's how we implement things. And this is applicable in almost everything, not just language. Like Dr. Satira mentioned just now, any subject. It could be science, it could be mathematics, any subject. And these three dimensions or these three aspects, they have been evolving. They have been changing over the years. For example, if we talk about teaching, the teaching method, It used to be, and maybe Dr. Satira knows, Ms. Kiru knows, we used to have grammar translation teaching method. That is a very popular teaching method. Even until now, it is being used by teachers. They love using it. And
The
if you
most
ask
comfortable.
why, yes, if you ask why the teachers are very comfortable in using grammar translation teaching method, it's because not just because of the teachers themselves, it's because of the students also. Maybe majority of the students. Maybe we are talking about the school in a kampong area, example. Okay, so maybe majority of the students, they are not well versed in the language, and therefore they opt for that method, which to me is not wrong. Although some may say, are you still using grammar translation teaching method? People are now using communicative teaching method. You should not encourage your students to focus so much on the grammar. You should be communicative. But what if the population, the students we are dealing with is in a rural area where they are not well versed in the language, and therefore the teacher opt for that method? So there are changes happening, but at times we go back to old methods due to many reasons. Okay, so at the university level, like I said, proficiency courses. To me, although I work in a university, I keep tabs on what's happening in schools, because we are getting Malaysian students. Of course, we have international students also, but majority of our students are Malaysian students. They come from school. So we talk to our students, we interact with our students, we see their performance, and some issues, their performance, the way they interact, for example, they make me think, what is happening in schools? Why do they behave in such a way? Why are they different in this way compared to the previous generations, for example? So I always take special interest in comparing or seeing what's happening in schools and judge or assess my students' performance at the university level. Yeah, I hope I did not go very far from your question, Prof, because Prof Karim looks puzzled.
Yeah, well, it sounds to me most of the issues that you mentioned just now is very operational. At the stage where you implement the teaching in the classroom. I think we can now move on to that slowly. On the ground level, where the specific issues that we have been discussing again and again. So this is what I would like to ask now. From the layman perspective, when I read the issues in the newspaper and so on, it's very simple. The problem with the English proficiency among the graduates, among the students, is basically their ability to write, the ability to articulate their ideas in writing in a very clear, very nice, very coherent, and so on, and also the ability to speak, the ability to express their ideas verbally. So to me, that's basically the gist or the essence of the problem. Now, my question is, maybe I'd like to ask Dr. Satira to start off first, very briefly, then maybe others can add on. What are the most recurring and unresolved concerns and obstacles in the context of English language teaching or teaching English as a second language? So, Dr. Satira?
All right. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Okay, once again, I need to reiterate that our discussion tonight, okay, my answer to Prof's questions is based solely on my personal observation, all right? My personal observation, being in the system for 28 years. I have 2 more years to reach 30 years for me to retire. Okay, so there must be reasons why people like me who is very passionate in teaching, who wants to retire early. Yeah, there must be a reason. Okay, I have divided the challenges, the issues and challenges into 4 areas. Yeah, first, so that my answer may not be brief, but you may stop me anytime. Okay, first of
Make it brief.
all, um, okay, I need to mention all the four that I have written here. Yeah,
Okay.
the first one is the frequent educational reform. Yeah, educational change that I think everybody is aware of this. Yeah, we have one system, and suddenly we want to change to another system. We had, people or officers from the Ministry of Education who pay a visit to perhaps Finland or other countries. And when I was doing my PhD, there is one. I don't know whether it's called methodology or what. It's called English Hour. Yeah, it was introduced in school. I do not know whether Miss Kiru has have you been in the system at that time. Yeah, that was back in 2000. I think 2003. Simply because some officers went to the UK and observed that there is a program called literacy hour being introduced or being practiced in the system, in the UK system. Okay, when I started my PhD, I started reading on this, and I found that there are many papers, yeah, literature saying that literacy hour is a failure in UK. And we are not adapting, Prof. We are adopting it, bawa sebiji seketul ke Malaysia, and we rename it by the name English Hour. And how long that this English Hour was in the system? I think it's for a few years only. When I finished my PhD, English Hour was no longer there. All right. The fact is that one of the component in that English Hour, which is shared reading, that is my area, my PhD area, is very, very beneficial to the students, in developing their communication skill, their pronunciation, all right, their reading habits. Shared reading. Shared reading is a practice where teachers read aloud to the students, okay, not to the student, with the students. Okay, so bringing in literature to classroom. By literature here, I mean storybooks. Yeah, storybooks like, I have a lot here. Okay, storybooks that students enjoy. Okay, but because the method is adopted from literacy hour without further understanding of what it meant, how it is supposed to be expanded, elaborated, adapted, okay, it wasn't a success. Yeah, it was not understood at the grassroots level. Okay, maybe it's just okay, beautiful at the planning level by the curriculum division, curriculum development division. Okay, sorry, I may sound harsh, but this is the phenomena in our country. Okay, that's number one. Yeah, so the frequent educational reform. Okay, number two is the emphasis on tests. We teach to test. We don't allow teachers to explore the language together with the kids. Now, the students that I did action research, for my PhD, was from, I think I can mention now, Sekolah Kebangsaan Air Hitam Alostar. Is not totally a remote area in Kedah, but is most of the parents are farmers, buat sawah padi. All right, so they don't speak English at all at home. All right, when I entered the school, okay, I wanted to start my action research. The teachers, alhamdulillah, the teachers have already changed. The two teachers that was my participants in the study has already changed their perspective. I hope they are with us tonight. Okay, but at the beginning of my study, they keep mentioning that, oh, our students, they are not good, it's difficult. Okay, yeah, I have to use the grammar translation method. I have to just use workbook, ask them to fill in the blanks, whatnot. If I read to them, they won't understand. Now I ask them, what is the use of their mother tongue? What tool do you share with the kids? Okay, one of the most important tool that we share with the kids is bahasa. Okay, they speak in BM, we speak BM. So we have to use BM in order to teach English. But that is not grammar translation. It's actually the communication that takes place. I have suggested in on FB, in my writing, my write-up, where I suggest why not we give a text either in BM or in English, and teachers from English teacher and BM teachers maybe can cooperate to let the students discuss the text in both languages. We want to know whether the students understand what is in the text. Yeah. So there is another issue where reading is also a major problem, because our kids don't read. Not to say our kids, our teachers also don't read. Parents also seldom read. So it's not in the our culture. Yeah. So language is closely related to reading, closely related to communication. Yeah, if you don't practice that, then it's not going to be developed. All right, so that is number two, the emphasis on test. So we teach to test. We keep talking about test, and of course, test and also pentaksiran and the teaching sometimes is not synchronized. Yeah, as how do I address you? Abha mentioned. All right.
Abbas.
Okay.
Abbas.
Abbas mentioned. Sorry, I'm sorry. All right. The third one is coming from a teacher educator. I am very passionate in my job. Yeah, you can see from the way I present tonight. This is how I speak, Prof. Karim. With my students, I speak like this. Saya memang tak tahan dengan pelajar, my trainees who speak macam orang hidup segan mati tak mahu. You don't have that energy, enthusiasm in teaching. Okay, so number three is the number three that I say is teachers' passion and enthusiasm. If you are not passionate in teaching, memang susah lah. Okay, that is also another obstacle. Yeah, being a language teacher, you have to be passionate. You tak boleh buka video YouTube tu yang menyanyi. You let the YouTube do the teaching. You yourself, regardless of whether you have a good voice like Siti Nurhaliza or Mariah Carey, but you have to sing. Nyanyi lah. Nobody is going to judge you. Nobody. Yeah, the students sing along with them, and they feel that you are with them. Your energy, I always tell my students, your energy is always reciprocal to your students' energy. That's why I ada tulis Prof. Karim, ya. If you can you enter your class with muka moyok, muka sedih kalau pun bergaduh dengan husband ke apa ke? No, you kena lap air mata, put it aside, masuk kelas ceria. Okay, why? The energy. The energy. Kalau kita macam cakap dengan orang tak you are not into the conversation, people can feel it. People can feel it. So what more kids? Yeah. So I think that is also one of the obstacles. Of course, I'm not generalizing it to all teachers in Malaysia, but there are teachers, because I do observe teachers. Yeah, I base my so-called conclusion on my observation. Yeah, not simply a sweeping statement. All right, and then number three, I just mentioned. Number four. Number four is teachers' proficiency. This is also another issue. And we admit that there are many teachers who are not ready yet, who are not proficient. With the interim teachers who were not trained in English, their degree is in other subjects, other fields. Suddenly, because of the lack of English teacher, so they have to be an English teacher. Fine, it's okay. Okay, they can learn. But how much training do we provide to them? Yes, suddenly we want them to answer a MUET question. Okay, to sit for MUET exam. All right, and when they don't get C1, okay, what happened to them? Yeah, they are accused for not being proficient. Okay, the training, so the fourth issue is actually the training of the teachers, the proficiency and also the training. And finally is the teacher's pedagogical knowledge, all right, and the heavy reliance on textbook. I'm not sure how far this is true when teachers say they have to follow the syllabus, they have to follow textbooks. I'm not so sure to what extent it is relevant now in the context of CEFR, because the textbook is made aligned with the level, the band, all that. When I was a teacher, okay, I taught in convent school, I taught in there are a few schools, yeah. I think I can count how many times I use textbook. I bring newspapers. Okay, in fact, when I was in Perlis, yeah, I was teaching in Sekolah Menengah Putra. When I went to that school, I saw, stack of star not used by teachers. So it's heaven for me. So I use all the because it's the same. The newspaper is the same. They like give about 30 to 40 apa tu what we call that, same newspapers, yeah. So I can use it with my students, yeah, I can use with my students. And when I was a teacher there, there's this NIE course, yeah, newspaper in education, run by the NST and also STAR. Okay, and I spoke to Miss Lucille Das. I think she is still around, yeah, Miss Lucille Das. She said she's very frustrated. Why? Because she took extra mile to train the teachers to use newspaper, but too bad when they went to school, the teachers did not utilize the free newspapers given. Okay, so that is teachers' pedagogical knowledge and heavy reliance on textbook. So I will stop there first, Prof. Yeah,
Okay.
so those are the issues or obstacles to the development of language, English language in particular, among Malaysians, yeah, Malaysian students. All right.
All right, that's very loaded, very comprehensive. Ms. Kiru, would you like to add on to that? We are talking here about the recurring issue, the issues that keep, keep repeating, and we keep talking about it, and yet we do not know whether we have addressed the issues sufficiently. So, yeah, Ms. Kiru.
Yeah, I guess it is true. I believe with the word change, change has to take place if you want to see improvement. But like what Dr. Satira said, I would agree. There are too many reformation taking place. That's why that teachers feel like it's too much on them. They have a lot to do. Well, in the beginning, definitely there's a lot of homework for them. But I think eventually they will get used to it. They will learn it and they will start working on it. Now, on that, well, as to be saying that teach to be tested, there has been a change now since we are moving towards formative. So I don't think so. We are looking much on teaching to be tested. I think we are opening up. It is more on assessment for learning rather than assessment of learning. So I think a lot have been given. Teachers have been exposed to formative assessment as how it works. A lot of talk is going on PBD as well. So I think a lot of, if you see, a lot of questions are coming on PBD as well. How is it being done? To me, my own personal opinion would be PBD is something that you do not have to stress on, as it is not something done on a how do I say, you don't have to be so stressed doing it, because PBD is not something that you can do it in a day. Let's say if it's a huge class, you don't have to do it in a day. Well, you can pick a few students and do it. So it is not something where you feel it's so tedious to do. There's a lot you can do. There's a lot that you can test. And with PBD, it helps you to see how your students are progressing. And there are so many other ways that you can work on to test them as well. So I think a lot of exposure or probably a lot of courses needs to be done on how PBD should take place. As for Negeri Sembilan here, we have been giving courses for teachers on how PBD should be done. I'm talking on primary level for now. I have given courses for teachers for PBD for year 2, and this year we're working on year 3 as well. On teacher's passion, I would definitely agree with Dr. Satira as well. If you go in with a sour face into class, then it reflects in your classroom. Your students is definitely going to know, and they are definitely not going to learn. So the passion has to be there, the enthusiasm has to be there. You really have to be prepared to show how much you want to give to your students, and they would definitely get from there. If you're going to go in without anything, then your students are not going to gain. So definitely passion is one of the main thing that has to be there for a teacher. Without that, you don't see the teaching and learning taking place effectively as well. Now, as for teachers' proficiency, you can say that there are courses being done as well for teachers to improve on their proficiency. Recently, I think ELTC has been doing a number of courses for teachers to improve on their proficiency and to see where they stand. And I think it's all about more on professional development as well. So my take here. So yes, that's about it, Prof.
I see from Maliga there. Go, Kiro, share with us what is happening in school these days.
Yes,
Don't
yes.
mince your words. No, don't mince your words actually from me, because this is hard and honest.
Yes, yes, yes.
So let's trash out everything. Perhaps we have people from curriculum, from Ministry of Education, from curriculum division or whatnot. Let them listen to what's really happening on the ground, because I believe the reason why there's still recurring issues from so many years until now, because those issues have not been addressed sufficiently or properly. Not for the lack of trying or efforts and so on, but somehow we did not find the so-called answer or the best instrument or strategies to address. So maybe before we move on to talking about CEFR now, which is I suppose still quite controversial. So maybe Dr. Abbas want to add on maybe additional points on the recurring issues and why we are still talking about it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prof. I think one recurring issue is, I think regarding what Dr. Satira mentioned just now, I was quite attracted to the idea of teachers' knowledge, okay, which is very important. And I feel those who undergo teacher training, I think they have to be, I don't know, at the moment, I don't know how much focus is paid on assessment aspects, for example, because eventually you are a teacher or those who are in teaching profession. If you take a look at most of the issues that have been happening over the years, it always go back to something related to assessment. Something related to assessment. Very recent issue, for example, I think it was widely shared on Facebook. So it is something out there in public, so I don't have to fear talking about it. I think it was a screenshot of a teacher marking something on grammar issue, a grammar mistake, and many people criticize the teacher for not being proficient in the language. And I think maybe it's a non-optionist teacher. I think that was also touched by Dr. Satira just now. Okay, so non-optionist teacher, I'm not very sure. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe maybe the ministry has to look at it about having non-optionist teachers teaching the English language. But if I'm referring to those teachers undergoing teacher training at teacher training colleges, IPG, maybe more focus should be paid on the assessment aspects. For example, they should be, if we ask people what is formative assessment, And Miss Kiru just now, she mentioned assessment of learning, which was the focus so far. And now we are moving towards assessment for learning and assessment as learning. Most of us, we can label them, we can label them because it is now introduced. It is now part of the system. But when we ask people to go into the details of what is assessment for learning, assessment as learning, and they are like stuck. Not many can go further. I think these aspects should be taught. Teacher trainees should be exposed, and they should be made aware. Things like, okay, when it comes to assessment, we have different schools of thought. You do not have to strictly follow or rely on one particular school of thought. There is always an alternative. It is always about justifying your selection. I think this is also in relation to giving autonomy to teachers. If we want to give autonomy to teachers, I think we have to tackle these issues from when they are being trained from the beginning, so that they will develop such skills while they are in service. Okay, so one issue that I've observed so far is teachers' lack of knowledge, which is frequently highlighted, and it has close connection with assessment literacy. Okay,
can I respond
literacy,
to that?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. All right. Sorry if I get you wrong.
Okay, sure.
I feel that you are trying to say that we do not educate them with assessment at IPG level. Okay, so I beg to differ. We do have a paper, language assessment. And when I teach that subject, it is actually, of course, in the syllabus, we have everything, the definition of assessment, of course, that's what they have been reminded. Assessment is not equivalent to exam. Yeah, it's not always equivalent to exam. Okay, assessment in a broader context is beyond exam. Okay, so that is taught in IPG. If you are talking about IPG, that is in the syllabus. Assessment for learning, assessment as learning, assessment for learning as learning, and one more is all the formative, summative. Yes, they are introduced to all those terms, terminology when they were in IPG. Okay. What happened along the way, when they join the crowd of teachers, okay, that is where perhaps they get confused, with the system that perhaps at one point we really focus on exam. And I personally never blame exam. I don't blame exam because I come from the exam system. I don't want to use exam-oriented system. Yeah, I come from the exam system. Prof. Karim, we do come from exam system, and we are successful jadi orang pun, because at that time my teacher never have this latih to be all the time. I enjoyed going to school. I went to school in the morning. And then at 1 o'clock, I went back home, and then I went to sekolah agama with tudung semua. Petang, lucut habis tudung semua, and then pakai short, go and enjoy myself playing netball, playing football with the boys. All right, okay. So I did enjoy my schooling time. Okay, and teachers, okay, we set for penilaian darjah 5, standard 5 assessment examination. There was no latih to be, but at one point parents started getting worried about penilaian darjah 5. Okay, the kids must get 5 A's, in order to secure themselves in boarding schools. and they started sending for tuition. I come from a very rural area in Kedah, Baling. Okay, my mother cannot afford to send me for tuition. I didn't go for tuition. My primary school was actually very enjoyable. I didn't go for any tuition, but I managed to get 5 A's for my assessment. I was the only girl the only student who get 5 A at that time, Prof. Kita brag sikit malam ni. Okay. Alright, and I went to science school, sekolah menengah sains Sungai Petani, Sultan Muhammad Jiwa. Yeah, we had a set system, a set system. I was in set 5, the lowest, the most stupid. Okay, I felt at that time, bodohnya aku. Okay, but I of course I communicated with friends who come from convent schools. So then I told you, Prof, I want to talk about intrinsic and extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Yeah. Okay. And I want to relate with assessment. I want to relate with teachers' passion just now. All right. Okay. So instead of only focusing on what our kids will get, the A's that our kids will get, or maybe if PBD, the band 1, band 2, we call it what, tahap, tahap 1, TP1, TP2, TP3. Okay. Instead of focusing on that, let the student enjoy the moment, explore the language together with the teachers, okay, with the friends. Then only the teaching and also the learning of language will be meaningful. Okay, but if you keep focusing on the, I saw a few statements just now, which I can't remember, but mentioning about PBD, here Yasmin Leong say PBD allows teachers to identify which areas skills students need to improve on, brush them up to prepare them for future. Very good, Yasmin. You can see that. But there are teachers who are still question, and to make things worse, they have to fill up forms. The teaching is made so rigid and also too systematic, too standardized. We want to standardize everything, that it does not allow for creativity to be, you understand tak? Teachers' creativity pun terbantut. What more students? What more the children? Okay, because we are too worried about this nitty-gritty of assessing, of formalizing things. Yeah. So if we go back to basic, keep it. I always say keys. Keep it sweet and short. Short and simple. All right. You go to class and then you read English books to the children. You explain in Malay, perhaps. You bring TikTok to classroom. People are talking about the challenge during pandemic. Okay. So I just bring TikTok. Ask the students to maybe read stories. Read, not tell. Read stories and video themselves reading the stories, and then share with the class. The students, the kids will be very proud. My son's English teacher asked him to videotape his making of spaghetti, I think. Okay. So he worked hard for that because he wants to so-called show off to the friends and to the teacher, that he can cook. He can also explain the recipe, the ingredients, the procedure in making that spaghetti in English, and learning takes place very accidentally, and this is language. This is language. Yeah, we don't really structure. Aku nak cakap apa? You don't. It happen very naturally, and the learning should replicate what's happening. I always say, bring the world to the classroom, bring the world to the classroom. All right. So when we rely on textbook, we want to ensure that what you teach is aligned, you become very careful, Prof. Too careful. Yeah? You have to make sure this align with the objective. So the writing of RPH is another issue. People are worried about the RPH, and to the extent, sorry to say, I'm declaring, yeah, we teachers, I don't say other teachers, maybe I myself, sometimes I teach first, then I write my lesson plan. For the sake of ISO. I am not worried. I'm not afraid to declare it here. Ya, memang main tipu pun. Okay, why? The preparation, for me, the preparation to face my kids is more important than the neatness of my RPH on paper. It looks nice, but how do you teach? The preparation, I upload the videos, find the suitable, searching for suitable materials is not easy, Prof. Correct or not? Yeah, we have to select, we have to, there goes the kebat lah, the kebat among teachers, where you need to synthesize which video is the best for this particular topic. So when you focus on the selection of the materials, selection and adaptation of materials is another issue. Okay, so when you focus on selecting and adapting, and you may not have time. As Ustaz Hasrizal wrote in his Facebook, he said in Finland, teachers are not forced to write RPH, lesson plan. Okay, and during my time when I started teaching, I remember, I wrote proper lesson plan when I was doing my teaching practice. But when I went to school, I saw teachers only jot down. At that time, I started teaching in 1994. 1994. And at that time, the writing of lesson plan is just like, objective, and then activities 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. And then, of course, the reflection was not really in the culture. Yeah, but I'm a reflective practitioner. Yeah, I write my reflection. Okay, so I have that. So again, so the time is not wasted for the preparation and trying to make things so synchronized, so objective, mesti selari dengan ini. You get if you get what I mean, yeah. Okay, so the creativity in classroom, the energy is spent in the classroom itself. Okay, I do not know about, I think this applies to all subjects. Yeah, teachers have to be enthusiastic in teaching. Teachers have to have energy. So if your energy is stolen for other things, and what more with the clerical job, the filling of forms, all that, PBD itself is beautiful. Okay, I attended the first layer of the coaching of coaches, for PBD. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. I understand the concept. And then I went down to school, and we do, the word is called kunjung bantu. Okay, this is another issue. Kunjung bantu is a nice word to be used. We don't go as nazir. We don't go and evaluate. We go and listen to teachers' problems, and together we try to solve. Yes, it's beautiful, but can we sustain? Can we sustain the visit to schools where in that context, IPG lecturers and also SISC plus, we were entrusted to go to school and kunjung bantu the teachers. But it has, I do not know in Negeri Sembilan, has it still been continued with the kunjung bantu?
Yes, we still do have.
Yes. Okay, and minta maaf cakap, the teachers, the officers who are entrusted to go to school for kunjung bantu, IPG lecturers who also have our own students to take care of. When I was in IPG Bahasa Antarabangsa, I had 8 trainees for practicum. And on top of that, I also have to go and kunjung bantu PBD. So I am not I'm not incredible, how I'm not a Superman, Superwoman. Okay, my energy is limited. Okay, so what I'm suggesting to the Ministry of Education, if okay, the idea of having SISC plus SISC, they are good, but make sure they are given the job to just coach the teachers. Now the SISC plus are complaining that they are made busy with other clerical jobs, PPD jobs. So how can they focus on the coaching? And the coaching itself, because it's done in a touch and go manner, has been misinterpreted by many teachers. So there is the buruk sangka between SISC, IPG lecturers who go to school, ALTC officers, ada buruk sangka. Mai dah geng-geng tu nak tengok, okay, they don't know what's happening in classroom. Depa tak apalah ajak adult learners, and in classroom only 20 students. We have 45 kids, who hardly speak English, blah blah blah. So we buruk sangka among antara satu sama lain, and this is not healthy. Whoa, I cannot stop talking. Okay,
Okay. I think that this is good because we want to be very honest, very upfront about the issue. So I think that's okay. Well, from what I can summarize, I think all those issues that you have mentioned, Ms. Kiru, Dr. Abbas, Dr. Satira, I think we are still focusing too much on the process, the nitty-gritty of the process.
Yes.
Everything need to be documented.
The
Everything need
issue
to be
of trust,
written.
Prof.
Yeah.
Issue of
So
trust.
I always say that when you give the autonomy, the empowerment to the teachers, you have also it has to come with trust. We have to trust. But now we are having the trust deficit. That's the reason why when when the Nazir or whatever come to the school, they want to see all the processes. They want to see all the details. So now you put the energy, as Satira said, you put all the energy, you invest all the energy to looking at the process. But what we should be focusing on, to me, is on the outcome. Because it's outcome driven. Look at the outcome as long as you achieve the outcome. So don't put too much time. So that's for my opinion to summarize what we have discussed so far. Because I think if we want to write down and list down all the issues, there will be a long list of issues.
Yes.
But over the years, I think the ministry is not just. I think they're trying to do a lot of things. So I think one
Yes.
of the things is the so-called roadmap, the English language education roadmap, to 2015 to 2025. So if any of you can say a little bit more, very briefly, what are the main critical, the pertinent points of this so-called education roadmap, and how it addresses some of the issues that you have mentioned? Anyone? Dr. Abbas or Ms. Kiru or maybe Ms. Kiru, you know a little bit more, maybe perhaps on the roadmap?
Okay, all right.
And
For the
from
roadmap,
there, how it leads to the introduction of the CEFR, maybe. So we can talk about CEFR as well.
okay, so not to say actually that the previous efforts were not effective in improving the English language teaching here. But like I said, once again, I would emphasize on the word change. So we know that change is actually inevitable, and with constant changes comes improvement, being it small or big. So the roadmap here actually acts as the guideline. Why the roadmap? Why did we have the roadmap is because it is actually a comprehensive plan for the systemic reform of English language education in Malaysia, whereby it goes from preschool up to tertiary education, as well as for the teacher education as well. Now, why is it that we needed the roadmap was to actually provide a comprehensive guideline for everyone to gauge the targeted proficiency levels of students being it whether from preschool up to tertiary education, or once again for teacher education as well. And it also helps as a guide for teachers to ensure students achieve the proficiency levels which are set against the international standards. And hereby, with the roadmap, students will be equipped with the language skills to be global players and, of course, part of the workforce in the globalized world. So here, when we look at it, this is where, how do I say, the most obvious thing that you can see is through the roadmap is where the adaptation of the CAFR takes place. Okay, so they have bring in the CFR, where it acts as the international standard for describing and measuring language proficiency at each stage of the education, as mentioned, from preschool up to tertiary and teacher education as well. So here, as what Dr. Abbas mentioned as well, the adaptation of the CAFR here leads to changes in the curriculum, teaching and learning, as well as the assessment. So here, the roadmap, when you see it, it acts as a guideline, and you will see that for each phase, they have actually explained thoroughly on what needs to be done and what are the levels that they need to achieve according to their targeted levels that was given in the roadmap. So yes, that is pretty much laid out in the roadmap. And again, with the CFR being introduced, teacher education and training are being aligned to the CFR, and teacher needs to know about the CFR as part of their continuous professional development as well. So a lot of CFR related training is given, as well as for them to get familiarized. So even till today, there are a lot of trainings being given to teachers so that they are familiarized with the content, with whatever that is being given to them. So yep, that's about
Right.
it. Prof.
So
Very beautiful.
Well said.
I
That's
think
why I said it's as how much is being absorbed as well. A lot is being given, but we don't know as to what extent teachers have accepted it, or probably applying it as well. That's like another different story or a different
from
level.
my understanding, there's a lot of issues also with CFR at the beginning.
Yes.
There's
I
supposed
wouldn't
to
deny
be,
that fact.
yeah. It's supposed. I think it's supposed to be three different stages, right? Three stages of the implementation for
Implementation, yes.
CFR. So where are we now, and how the CFR? What I like to know mainly is how it addresses the challenges and the issues that you have raised just now, and from there, I think Malika there asked a question here because I think
On
she can't wait
opportunities.
to hear what are the opportunities that this new framework can bring, and in addressing the issues as well, and
Okay.
what are the opportunities, and maybe the reflection overall on
Okay,
moving
so
forward.
looking at
Yeah.
in a teacher's point of view, from what I do in my classroom, I see there's a lot of opportunities. And what was being mentioned as being rigid and systematic in the teaching, to me, I see it as something where it is very flexible, that you get to do what you want in the classroom, provided you follow the guidelines which are given. You are able to do whatever you want in the classroom, as long as the teaching and learning takes place, effective teaching and learning takes place. In terms of opportunities, I think there's so many different ways you can carry out your lesson, depending on how creative you want to be. Like I said, be creative. As how creative you want to be. And there are so many opportunities for the students to actually learn the language, depending on how you carry out your lessons as well. So it actually comes hand in hand. The teacher and the student has to play their roles as well. So it's not just one person doing it. So just the teacher giving and the student not taking in, also it won't be effective. The lesson won't be a successful lesson as well. So in terms of opportunities, I would say there are so many. It's just how you actually choose on what to do, how to teach in your classroom. Yeah.
Yeah, someone mentioned about backward design here. I like the idea of backward design. I think teaching language. Well, I'm not qualified to say this, but to me, from the learner perspective, in school and also in the university, and I look up at some of my English teachers. They really work backward. They start with the end in mind. So if they want to improve, let's say, on the communication part, so they just engage a student in conversation, let the students speak, let the student talk, construct the sentence, and then they will point out what's the mistake, and this is how you should put the sentence together. These are the grammar. You should say this because this was yesterday, so you should say when you were doing the thing, when I was reading, and things like that. And I find it a very effective way.
That is formative, Prof.
Yeah.
That is the true spirit of formative assessment.
PBD is backward design.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, PBD is backward design. It's using backward design. Okay, so if it's understood well, PBD is good.
Yes.
Okay, I know, I'm aware of the comments made by several academicians that, with the condition in our schools where we have 40 students per class, I still personally believe that PBD can be done.
Yeah.
The issue is, again, I'm a reflective practitioner, Prof. Karim. So I reflect on myself. Okay, every time I do my teaching, I will reflect. Every time and not only teaching, actually in my life also, I went through a lot of hard knocks in my life. So I think I become a great practitioner because I do reflect. I do muhasabah every single day. So as a teacher, you cannot, like, for example, why do I keep saying as a teacher? Because I'm a teacher. Okay, so we cannot change the world. Okay, so that's why my motto is be the change. You be the change. You know that, for example, the term shared reading, when it was introduced in the English hour, I took the trouble to read what the hell what in the world is this shared reading. Okay, so I read and read and read. Sorry, orang Kedah dia kasar sikit kan. I read and read, what is shared reading? And I found that the definition given in the SKP is totally contradict to the definition given in literature.
Okay.
Oh my God. Who started that definition? The definition given, I still remember vividly, the definition given in the DSKP for the shared reading is teacher reads aloud, student follow. And teachers who do not take extra mile to read on what shared reading is will simply follow what is stated in the SKP. They will read aloud and the students follow, and then they give reading comprehension questions. Reading lesson does not take place at all in classroom. Okay, the same goes with PBD. Well, they will introduce teachers when we went for to coach. We coach the guru besar. Okay, the ministry is trying very hard not to adjust to based on the comments made by people. Okay, from top down, the ministry is trying to make it middle system. Okay, we cannot bottom up. It's not bottom up, it's middle system. What is middle system? We, the coach, okay, who received the first layer of the information about PBD, we went to train the middle leaders. Who are the middle leaders? The middle leaders are the guru besar, hoping that the guru besar will train the teachers in their school. All right. So when the boss understand what PBD is about, okay, then the boss will not make any so-called stupid instruction. Tidak boleh melepasi TP3. Okay. So we hope that will happen. We never mentioned during the coaching that students cannot be given TP1 or TP2. I never mentioned that. But they said that in the description of the TPs, there is one line where it stated student must not get below TP3. Okay, so again, the understanding of the term TP is being narrowed down and is made is associated with A or B or C.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Whereas all these TPs, I'm not going to comment on the descriptor. The bahasa used in TP of menglahirkan insaniah whatever, which I found is we don't make it sweet and simple lah. All right. Okay, fine. But I think in mind, teachers know what is TP1, what is TP2, what is TP3. Okay. So for me as a teacher who reflect, you will further read on what is backward design. Apa benda backward design ni? I should read. There must be reason why ministry introduced this backward design. Read. Okay, so the problem is, sorry if I keep saying teachers do not read. Yeah, there are teachers who read. There are teachers who show their thirst towards knowledge, but there are still many. Okay, the issue in our society now is the reduction of knowledge, kan, Prof? Kita simply even information pun kan, somebody summarize for us the gist of information for COVID-19 SOP, for example. Okay, so we just follow what has been summarized for us, and then we copy paste forward to everyone. But a good person, someone who reflect, will take the trouble to further read and understand. And the moment you understand backward design, for example, and big ideas, for example, okay, there are many terminology used in PBD, backward design, essential questions,
Yes.
and then big ideas. What are these? Go and read. Once you understand, okay, then the implementation and your understanding will be jived. Thank you.
All right. So I think we are coming towards the end now. I don't want to drag this very long for our audience. So
Sampai
maybe,
pukul 2 tak habis.
maybe the last part here, moving forward. Now the CEFR is there, the framework that, like it or not, we have to make it work. We have to make it successful. There'll be a lot of issues still, but what maybe to summarize, looking at, as a reflection, as well as looking at the opportunities, how this CFR now can be implemented successfully, open up a lot of opportunities for teachers now to be more creative, perhaps, and to create a more conducive environment for the students to learn, get them very motivated to learn English, and hopefully achieve the level of proficiency and the fluency, whatever that we want to achieve. So very briefly, starting from Dr. Abbas maybe, then Miss Kiro, and Dr. Satira, to summarize very briefly.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Okay, CEFR to me is something, maybe Dr. Satira, I don't know she would agree with me or not, but my personal opinion, CEFR is something that makes things easier. Okay, the framework, of course, it's developed for the context of European countries, but it has widely been accepted by many non-European countries now, including Malaysia. But there are also countries which are against this framework. I don't know, maybe if they have their own framework. And if Prof. Kabilan is here today, I am really curious what would be his view, especially about developing our own framework, which in fact, I personally think it's a wonderful, excellent idea if we could have our own framework. Okay, and possibly we can try to implement this in ASEAN, for example, if we are successful. Okay, but at the moment, what's happening with CEFR, it's about categorizing students' proficiency more systematically. If we take a look in the previous, before the existence of CEFR, this is based on my knowledge. We have categorized the achievement of students or learners, language learners, into elementary, intermediate, and advanced, which I think most of the time it was found problematic because, for example, even at the elementary level, we have sub-elementary levels. There are extremes of elementary level. The same goes to the other two categories. So when CFR comes into the picture, I'm not saying it has solved all the problems that we had, but it does help to some extent. Like they have three broad categories. They have maybe Ms. Kiru can help me if I make a mistake. I think the first is basic user, the second is independent user, and the third is proficient user. And A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2. Okay, but the one issue that I have with CFR is not one issue. I have two issues to highlight. Number one is about the C2, native level. Okay, native level, and specifically about English. I believe most of us here are aware of J.D. Brown. J.D. Brown, he actually propagates the idea of he is against the idea of native English speaker. I mean, the standard. What is the standard? I think different people, we have different understanding of a native speaker. He is propagating the idea of I mean, we do not have to fix like, okay, native speaker only Ahmad Saleh. Ahmad Saleh. It's not Ahmad Saleh. It can be anyone who is well versed, who is proficient, who is fluent in the language can be considered. You are perfect. Okay, so I have some issues about that actually, and I think I agree with the points or issues raised by J.D. Brown. That's one. Number two, implementing CFR in Malaysia, I think we have problems with the materials. I have read somewhere people raising concerns about we adapt materials which are produced for other people. It's for other people, for other contexts, but we are trying to use it in Malaysia, which may not suit us. So to me, I think, I don't know, maybe we should consider developing our own materials, and we should, this is another way of empowering our teachers, bring in our teachers to develop materials following the CFR standard. Okay, yeah, that's my view.
Ms. Kiru?
Okay, all right. So once again, going back to CFR, well, in the beginning, definitely I would say that teachers had this issue on acceptance when it was initially introduced. They were probably not ready for the change as well. They had probably a certain anxiety feeling when it was introduced as to how to go about it, because it was sort of an overnight thing. Changes took place where the curriculum was changed and they had new textbooks. A lot of things were going and they had to, learn, read up, a lot of homework to be done. And they had these assumptions of not having sufficient materials to carry out their lessons. And also the biggest problem was they had too many documents to refer to, which was a hassle for them. They thought that it was a hassle. Also going back to not enough exposure and lack of training in the beginning. But I think now when you see it over time, things have changed. They've been able to accept it. And to me, I would say that the documents are really helpful. So teachers should go back to the documents that they have given for the CFR, looking back at your DSKP. If you're talking about terms, they have glossary where teachers can refer to the terms there if they are not aware of. The scheme of work is very well, how do I say, it has been designed very well for teachers. It helps teachers. I wouldn't say that they have to follow fully on it, but it is a guideline for them. If they're willing to be creative enough to change their lessons, yes, by all means go. Stick to the learning standards and the curriculum standards that are set. But yeah, feel free to be creative in whatever that you do. So I would say that the CFR is a good thing that it is introduced. It is somewhat giving you opportunities to be very creative in your lessons. And it is something interesting and for teachers as well to learn something new and, to do or come up with something interesting in their lessons. It's a change for them in their classrooms as well. Now, going back to materials, they did have something on learning materials adaptation, whereby looking at their textbook, it's very much foreign based. So through the learning material adaptation, they can localize their materials. Once again, you don't really have to follow whatever that is set there. You can make changes as long as you are able to cater and accommodate for your students, provided that you know that the teaching and learning takes place effectively in the classroom. Now, this is me being a teacher and, saying, okay, this is how things are going to be in my classroom. For me, at the end of the day, as long as my students are able to achieve the objectives that are being set, that's all that matters. How it is being done is all up to the teacher. So this is based on my experience.
All right, finally to close the curtain, Dr. Satira, short and sweet.
I'm afraid it's not going to be short. I have written a lot.
Okay.
Well, we're going to have maybe
I think
another session.
maybe
Short and
this,
sweet.
I will make it short and sweet, inshallah. All right. I do agree with both the other two speakers to a certain extent. I'm not totally against CEFR. Or whatever framework for that matter. Again, as I said before, we are very well known for making beautiful blueprints. In fact, our falsafah pendidikan negara is the most beautiful falsafah, on paper. But it has been rebranded in many blueprints, and then but actually we are talking about the same thing, the Jerry. Okay, so as a teacher trainer, education reforms happen, all right, and with our education and politics sometimes, the interference of politics in education, we have to bear with this. But on our part, okay, as my motto, be the change. So the change must come from your own self, your classroom. Be practical, bring the world to the classroom. Be simple, bring back fun to the classroom. Somebody mentioned about reading Enid Blyton. I do improve my English through reading Enid Blyton series. All right. And teach English or language for that matter. BM also is, we have issues where students cannot communicate. When I say communicate, express your feelings, express your emotion, express your opinion in such a way that people will understand you. Okay. So teach language, BM or English, to make them to ensure that they are able to communicate, in workplace, for example. Okay. Then I did say bring storybooks to classroom, bring back reading culture. If you talk about materials adaptation, teachers creating materials, I think that is give the teachers autonomy to use materials in classroom. There are a lot of TikToks, there are a lot of YouTube videos. They can ask students to go to KFC, order KFC in English, videotape and upload, share with teachers, share with your friends. Okay, bring the world to the classroom. All right. And overall, yes, our ministry is trying the level best to ensure that we improve the teaching of English. But again, the implementers are teachers. So be the change. Thank you. Is that sweet and short?
That was very short.
Thank you to all the speakers. Well, so much has been shared and said in this session, and I believe there's still a lot more. But I think when we talk about issues on the ground in the classroom, problems faced by the teachers, all the work that they need to do, teaching, documentation, and there are a lot more. I don't think we can address everything here. I don't
Yes.
think we can answer all the questions here. I would like to thank the audience who have been very active, asking questions and also giving their input. And I don't think we have time to really look into it, but this is my plan. I will compile all these, the comment and the questions, and I think I will have a follow-up session to pick up uh, most of the questions, especially because I'm attracted to this comment by, well, we don't have the name here,
Facebook user.
because I think this is the same question that I like to seek the answer with the CAFR and so on. And I think the next session we want to look at some of these questions, and we want to see how the CAFR thing can really open up opportunities for teachers now to be more creative and so on, so that we can address this issue. After 11 years of student in school, we still cannot produce students not only who cannot communicate well in English, but also who cannot think skillfully. What exactly is the purpose of education in Malaysia? Can anybody say something? What rationale is to import English textbooks, the local material, as Dr. Abbas mentioned just now, used by Malaysian students? Why do we use CFR? Why don't we develop our own framework? There's a string of issues and questions yet to be answered. But I think as educators, we honestly want to improve, especially in the context of English language teaching, so that when the students reach a certain level, they can really converse in English, communicate in English fluently, proficiently. They can write very well, they can articulate very well, and yet we are not there. We are not there. Some people compare to, like, the old generation can speak very well, can write very well. What happened to this new generation? It must be the education system and so on. So it is very interesting thing to discuss, to elaborate and deliberate. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think I promise to bring us a few more series on this one and dive deep into this, but maybe less on the issues now, but maybe more on the opportunities. Yeah, more on the opportunities, because you can argue about all these issues and until cows come home. But I think let's look at the opportunities and work on that, so that we can really improve the English language teaching in our school. So with that, I would like to thank the speakers, Ms. Kiru, Dr. Satira, and Dr. Abbas, for sharing your thought very honestly, being very transparent. Hopefully, people at the high level, the decision makers, are listening, so that they know there's still a huge gap in terms of the implementation and execution at the school level. Okay, so with that, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for staying on until the end, and I promise there'll be the next session to continue talking about this. So have a nice weekend. Stay safe and stay productive, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good night.
Okay, good night,
Good night.
everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Bye bye.